I'm Dr. Kimberlee Woods with the Soul Alignment Community and the School of Mystical Arts, and this is day 2 of the Creative Energetics Masterclass, and today we are talking about dead people. Dead people in Galactics. We're actually talking about clearing energies, but I did a clearing energies piece in the last masterclass, and so I wanted to go more in depth into other areas. Last time we talked a little bit about walk-ins and hitchhikers. And so I did put a post. If you have a pendulum, go get one because we will be using it. If you don't, you can watch what we're doing and you can always look back on this recording. For those that filled out the homework from yesterday, congratulations, Karen Joy Alman, you won the drawing. And so I'm actually, based on what Karen wrote, decided I'm going to give her some laminates that have sacred geometry in it that will help her to set a sacred space. She said that she's struggling a little bit with environments and using sacred geometry and environments. So I am going to be doing that for her because it actually meets a need that she's looking for at this time. All right, so today I wanted to talk a little bit about the difference between energy and entities, and then we're going to get right into talking about the two that I said today. So energy is basically what an object is composed of. So it can have vibrational and high vibrational energy, low vibrational energy. We'll say it has good energy. Everything that you're getting, that you buy, has energy in it. It has energy from how it was made. It has energy from people touching it. So when things like I had bought, I forget, it was something that came from, I think it was somewhere in the East. I think it might have been India. And I had to do some exploration because I had bought several things at the same time. And I said, there's something now in this room that is really has negative energy with it. And I was trying to do all this clearing and I couldn't clear it. I finally just threw the object away. So I had bought this object. And sometimes, you know, when I did exploration, they must have used children to make it. And they were abusing the children when they were making it. And so as much as I was trying to clear the energy from the object, I couldn't make it happen. So that I probably could now, but at the time I couldn't. So it's energy, right? Everything is energy and energy is everything. So there's all kinds of energies that could be happening. Damanhur actually has, I think I have it right here. Damanhur, when you become an initiate, you can get a little item. It's a Horus pendant, and they use this with a particular saying to help clear the energy from objects. Right? So there are various ways that people clear objects. We talk about clearing crystals and clearing the energy with using running water or salt or the sunlight or the moonlight. There's lots of ways. Sage, there's lots of ways to clear crystals because people touch them. And then they put energy into them. So these are things that hold energy. When I'm talking about entities, I mean, we create an entity oftentimes by how we define ourselves. I'm a mother. I'm a sister. I'm a coworker. I'm a partner. I'm a wife. I'm a husband. I'm whatever it is. We oftentimes create an entity around how we define ourselves or how we define something else. But I'm going to specifically talk about entities that are oftentimes entering or impacting our field. Now, talking about our auric field, I'll keep saying our field. We have a working aura that goes out maybe 9 to 12 feet, but your aura can go out 500 feet. Your aura can go out the length of the universe. You can push your aura all the way out. So we're talking about particular entities that are coming into probably your working area, your working aura, that 9 to 12 feet, and there's a reason that they're there. So dead people are oftentimes what you'll find in this field. Earth spirits are elementals. So you've got sylphs that are that's an elemental connected to air. Gnomes are an elemental connected to earth. Salamanders are the elemental connected to fire, and undines are the elemental connected to water. But you can also have trolls and fairies and other kind of earth spirits that may be coming into your field for a variety of reasons. Want to help you kind of reasons, and clinging on kind of reasons, and we'll talk about that. You could have beings of light in your field, like angels, ascended masters. I'm going to distinguish ascended masters of the light because there's ascended masters of the alternative light or the dark. They have their ascended masters too. So ascended masters would be, there's a whole list of ascended masters, but Diana, Isis, a lot of times, sometimes angels are even considered ascended masters. Melchizedek, Merlin, these might be ones who have once at one time lived in a physical body, had an earth experience, and through their wisdom help us in our physical existence. Doesn't necessarily mean that they know all. You may be more evolved than some of them. You may have more knowledge than some of them. But sometimes they are in our field to help us, guide us, collaborate with us, work with us, give us information. But there's brotherhood and sisterhood of light. There are other kinds of light beings that could be working with you. There's also demons. They could be in your field. That can feel scary to people. Once we started judging another, we have probably invited a demon in. Demons of anger, demons of fear, demons of attachment, So there's all kinds that we create. They're there because we created them. They're there because we provided an opening, and judgment and fear are big openings for that kind of energy. And then galactics. That doesn't mean there can't be other things in your field, but these are probably the 5 biggies. Galactic beings. I wouldn't call them alien necessarily because it doesn't have a good connotation. There are good galactics that are very helpful to us, and there are those that are not helpful and are working against you. And so I'm going to talk about that. So today I want to talk a little bit about dead people and about galactic beings. And we're going to be working with Pendulum. So I said if you've got one, make sure you get it and have it with you. At any point, raise your hand, take off your mute, ask a question, put it in the chat, and I'll stop and address that. All right, so dead people. Some people have died and they still had unfinished business. And like maybe they committed suicide. Maybe there were still things that they felt like they needed to accomplish here on Earth. Some have died, and because they had unfinished business, they are struggling to cross over. And so they're lingering, and they're having a hard time moving on. So some people have died and they had contracts they made in this lifetime, or contracts maybe they had even in another lifetime, and they feel like they cannot go because they need to hang around in order to fulfill that contract. Now, you may not know it, but you already have probably plenty of contracts that you have established in this lifetime. Contracts with people that you've loved, contracts potentially with the parents that you chose before you came here, contracts maybe with people that you work with, people that have been part of your soul family over many lifetimes. And so we have contracts, whether we understand it or know it or not, they exist. And so if we die and we feel like those were not fulfilled, then potentially it will be hard to cross over. So these are why there's dead people potentially that have not fully crossed over that can be impacting or in your field. Some may know your energy signature, right? So I'll give some examples. I've had it where other people and even myself, there's this entity that's lingering in my field, and I'm trying to identify information about the entity. You know, who are you? Why are you here? I'll give an example, KJ, of a contract, just a personal one. But why are you here? And basically got, they had made a contract with me back in the time of the Temple of Isis. And honestly, I promised them that they would get a certain payment, and they never got it. Okay. Now, I'm not that person anymore, but my soul is, and they recognize my soul's signature, and they're like, where's my payment? And I have to say, well, I'm not, let's say I was, called Tiara, in that time, and they're like, Tiara, where's my payment? You promised me. And I'm like, I'm not Tiara. Yes, you are. We know your soul signature. And so I have to go through a process of helping them to realize like life has moved on for them, but also that I am not who they think. So I am Kimberlee. I am not Tiara. I know that that's who you knew. I am somebody different, but I also have to help them to see, and I'm going to go through that with you, who they are, right? Because they're holding on to something that isn't serving them anymore, right? Waiting for something to happen that isn't serving them anymore. So one of the things that you can do is say, well, who were you in that lifetime? Because maybe they were fixated on a job they did. Maybe they were fixated on their particular name. Maybe they were fixated on something. And I have to go through a process of helping them see who they were before that and who they were after that. I'm actually going to go through that with you in a couple minutes. KJ, your question was, can I give an example of a contract? So I was married, and I had a contract with my ex-wife. We were studying in the mystery school together. We were meant to do work together. But for whatever our garbage was in this lifetime, that did not work. Every time I tried to collaborate, she was stuck. She couldn't really do it. She had to work through her own stuff. And so our working together, our collaboration just never happened. We got divorced, but the contract is still there. Contract that we agreed to. Contract that we would continue to try to fulfill together. So I was talking with Amy about this, and I said, how can I continue to fulfill my portion of this contract so that this isn't something that is unfinished business? And she said, we're not going to come back together. We're not going to, be in partnership again. But she said, if you can help her to reach her fullest potential, then you will have fulfilled your aspect of the contract. So I encouraged her to get trained with Amy because I knew that would help her fulfill her potential. And she ended up becoming a sacred practitioner, and now she's a part of a group, and now she's doing training. And so I'm doing, if I see something, know something that I believe will help her progress and grow in her development, consciousnness, I always send it her way. So that meant I had to let go of any anger, right? Judgment, lack of forgiveness. I had to let that go because, well, number one, it wasn't serving me, and it's not serving her. and it's not serving what we agreed to together in terms of our contract. I hope that helps. But every contract can be different, right? So my contract.
Are there some contracts that we don't even know we have?
Yep. We made them. But it's like you have to really do some exploration and looking and saying, why did I bring this person in my life? Or what was it about this person? And what is it that that we were to learn from each other? What is it that still needs to happen? Right? So that can happen in this lifetime. But there, like I said, like this contract that I had as tiara with these guys, I mean, I was asking them to do work for me. And I'm not talking about like go build a mound. I was having them do some energetic work for me. And and they were like, you promised us, and the promise may not have been money. Like the promise was potentially, I have the power to help you to evolve. And then I didn't fulfill it. So these are like, it takes time. It takes some searching. It takes some research to really delve into what these contracts might be. But ultimately, if something's hanging around your field, this is where you're starting to ask questions. And that's why we're going to use the pendulum today. Okay. Let's see. So you want to help maybe release them from the contract. Sometimes I have dead people show up that are in a contract, but they're not in a contract with me. And I don't really have the right to say you're released, but I'll ask, is it in the highest and best interest for them to be released from this contract? And if it's yes, then I will just step in and say you're released. That contract is no longer necessary. It is really, and if they cannot, through just my words of saying that, move on to the light, then this is where I'm going to go through with you steps for what you can say to them to help them let go. Let me see. Do I talk now about helping them move on to the light? Okay, let me just go into it right now. So I created within my mind, I wrote it on a piece of paper. I did all of these things where it's stairs, right? And at the top of the stairs is a doorway, and I hand them a key and I say, go up the stairs, open the door, and go into the light. I have a beacon, like a crystal that's at the house, so that if they're lost and they're trying to cross over, there's instructions there for them. And they can go to this crystal and they can get a key. I can give them the key. My higher wisdom can give them the key. Archangel Michael can give them the key. And they can read these instructions and they can go. So they don't have to wake me up in the middle of the night and say, hey, Kimberlee. But a lot of them try to, because they don't feel like they can cross over. They feel like they've got a contract. They feel like there's still something that they owe. So if I say, okay, maybe there's a reason why they need to stay here, something still that they need to learn, something still they need to work through. But if I can release them from a contract, I will. But oftentimes what I'll say is, you're having a hard time crossing over. You are not, I'm trying to tell them, you are not this person. And I'll say, well, who were you before this? Now they might say a job, like I was a farmer. Okay, if that's what they're answering. Who were you before that? I was a doctor. Who were you before that? I was a mother. Who were you before that? I was a little girl. Who were you before that? They might say a job. They might say a person. And then I'll say, who are you going to be in the next life? Oh, I'm going to be an astronaut, right? So it begins to help them to see you're not this being, this entity stuck here. And so then I'm reminding them, this isn't your reality. Like, this is just a moment. So you have another life that's coming, and it's time for you to move on to that. So here's the instructions, go ahead and cross over. So this is part of what you can do if they're having a hard time. Okay. Some people have died and they were very attached to worldly things, alcohol, drugs, people, houses, money, and it's like an addiction, right? And so we call them sometimes lost souls. They have their fix and they're looking to get their fix. And so they may be in your field to attach to you to get a fix from you. They may want energy. You're like a battery. They're feeling, because they're getting drained in that world, in the astral plane, they're getting drained. And so they need to get energy. So they're going to attach to whomever they can to get this energy. Or if they really loved getting high, they will oftentimes attach to somebody getting high so they can feel that feeling again, right? They can feel the alcohol again, even though they can't fully, but it's like they can sense it again. So this oftentimes, like when people are doing drugs and alcohol, they really completely opened up their field, and all of this stuff can be invited in. So these kind of lost souls, they're looking for some kind of attachment. They're not just people who died and are going through, when people die, they go through a process of remembering who they really are, and they kind of go through these stages. That's not where they're at. They're stuck. They're definitely stuck. And the longer they're stuck here, the angrier they get. So all these people who are saying, I really want to talk to my dead mother, father, sister, brother, when we keep trying to contact them, we're pulling them back into this realm for us. They've left this realm. They're in the process now of healing and remembering who they are and going back to a place of beauty and wholeness and health. And we're pulling them back to something that, it doesn't mean that they won't come back, doesn't mean they won't help us, but just remembering, like, we're doing that for us and it's not really helping them. So, but if they're stuck here, and they could be stuck here for, I said it could be a suicide that they're stuck here, it could be that they were attached to worldly things. If they're stuck here, they're going to continue to get more and more angry. And so they may become very demanding. They may want to take over your body. Now, like, how can they take over my body? Well, they can't unless you give them permission. So that's why last time I talked about walk-ins, if people are saying, gosh, this life is hard, or I don't want to live it, or it's too difficult, or I just give up, it's like a way of us getting out of the driver's seat and allowing something else to come in and drive. And you'll see people with these personality changes, and you don't even know what it is or what happened. And it's because they've let something else kind of run the show, take over, and drive the car. So you want to make sure you're the one in the driver's seat, you're in your body, you're in charge. And if that happens, don't beat yourself up. During COVID, I gave up my driver's seat. I was like just surviving. And I knew I was off, and I had no energy to put myself back on. I went and said, help me clear my field, please, because I'm struggling. And I was like, oh yeah. She says, you're like trembling over, here somewhere. It's like, yeah, I'm, was barely surviving. And she said, there are a bunch of dead people and walkers running the show, and they're really afraid of everything. And that's how it was getting. Like I was wearing masks. I was washing my hands all the time. I wouldn't touch anything unless I had gloves on. And I wasn't doing that before. I was like, what's going on? And then she said, and then you have several angry people. And I just call them, it's demonic energy. I was angry at the medical establishment for not responding quick enough, for not providing medicines that were going to help me. I mean, I was angry. And so once that cleared, it was like, oh my God, I feel myself again. Don't beat yourself up. Don't sit there and say, I'm better than this. I could sit there and say, I know more than this. I teach people. I know how to clear my field, but it's okay. I needed help. And I just needed that leg up to get myself back on track. So this is something really you probably want to check every day. Am I in my body? Am I connected to the 100% light source? Is there something else in here with me? Am I driving my car? If there's something else in here, what is it? And how do I remove it or move it along or get it moved along? All right. Some have died and they don't know where they are. They don't know that they've died. Maybe they overdosed and didn't realize that they're dead. Maybe they died on a table and don't know that they died. Maybe they're confused. They don't know that they don't have a body. Maybe they have Alzheimer's. And all they know is that everybody's ignoring them. Their friends are, their family are, the doctors are ignoring them. They're trying to talk to these people. Why are you ignoring me? And they can get frustrated and they can get angry. And so, it can feel like they're doing this and knocking, like, why do I have a headache? This is a little bit off. This isn't somebody like dying on a table, but I had a client that I was working with, and she's like, I have this massive headache. And so when I looked, there was a troll that was banging on her head. And I said, did you cut a tree down recently? And she said, oh yeah, I cut this big tree down in my backyard. And I said, well, the troll was living there and it's really mad at you right now. And it's pounding on you. And so I was like, okay, you're going to need to do something to, it's not a penance, but to acknowledge what you've done and try to make it right with this troll. But this is how it is for people who've died and don't know, that they can be like trying to push at you. And especially if you have light, if you are aware, they're like, oh, this person senses I'm in the room. This person, I think they might see me. We get a lot of dead people at the house here. With both Cindy and I here, we were just like, okay, that's why we had to set up something, because it's like, just keep on moving up the stairs, please. But it's, they can just be, hey, what's going on? Those who die don't know that they're here. It's hard for them to do things like move objects. It's hard for them to understand how to cross over. It's hard for them to understand what's happened. Those who've been here for a while and are getting angrier and angrier, that's why you will see maybe a blind gets slammed or a door is slammed shut. They're getting angrier because they can't communicate and get their need met. This happens. I had a friend who bought a condo, and it was on a riverbed. And the first night she was there, the shutters kept doing this on their own. The doors were opening and closing. The lights were going on and off. And as she researched it, there were this was Native American territory, and in the battles, their bodies were all dumped in this wash, and they got plugged up and buried in that area. So they never had any proper way to say goodbye. Probably how they died was vicious. There was no way to allow them to go back to the light. And so they just stayed there and got angrier and angrier. And now condos were being built over them. So it doesn't mean that it can't happen, that it can be cleared, but we're living in a world where we think it's just us, and we're not sitting there saying, trees, I know this is your land. May I build a space here to live? Nope, I'm just going to cut you down. Okay, are there Native Americans here, and how do I honor what is here? And maybe this is not the best place to build a condo. So yes, dead people. So we want to ask, are there any dead people in your field? So if you have your pendulum, pull out your pendulum. Last time we talked on energetics of doing yes, no's, and maybes. We talked about, does it feel light in your body for a yes? Does it feel heavy in your body? Or something like maybe tingling, light tingling, or maybe it felt like a compression for a no, and then you have to decide what a maybe feels like. So we talked about how do you feel a yes, no, or maybe in your body, and then today we're going to talk about a pendulum. So I love to use my Selfica pendulum. A Selfica are spiral beings from 11th dimension. This is something that I got from Dom and her. And I love it. It doesn't need to be cleared like the crystals do. And I feel like I'm collaborating with the spherical beings. So I love using my Selfica pendulum. Whatever pendulum you have is fine. When I'm using the pendulum, I just talked to two people recently. It was fascinating to me. They were within hours of each other. They said, I tried using the pendulum and I just get frustrated. And, because it doesn't feel like they have a clear yes, a clear no. It feels like their answers are all over the place. So I want to talk a little bit about that. And so I said to one person, I said, well, let me tell you what I do when I start. Okay. So I actually take this symbol here. It's the IHS Unity symbol. I like to use that symbol to put my pendulum over because I already know that symbol has 65 clearing programs, auric programs, maintenance programs, and so it's already a great symbol for setting the stage and the parameters for using my pendulum. So I like to put it over that. So I'm going to give you an example of what I say. I told this to, it was my hairdresser. I told this to her and she's like, oh my God, I can see the difference between what you're doing and what I was doing. So here's what I say. I ask that anything that comes through the pendulum come from my higher wisdom, be in alignment with my highest good, come from my highest Christed consciousness, from my I am presence, through the most secure channels, be in alignment with the law of one and the great white brotherhood. That's not an Aryan thing, by the way. That's white light. And be filtered through the IHS Unity logo and all of its programs. That's this logo that I was showing. So I start off that way. So I'm giving all of the parameters by which I want to get information to come to me. I'm sure that feels different. When I started off, it was less than this. I started adding things on, but this is where I'm at now in terms of my pendulum. Then most people, when they're taught anything about pendulums, they ask the pendulum what a yes, no, and maybe is, and I don't. I teach people, tell the pendulum what a yes is, because you're God. The pendulum is not more powerful than you. The pendulum is not the one in charge. I'm collaborating with the pendulum, but I'm the one in charge. I'm God, right? So for me, I say yes is clockwise, and I'll see my pendulum will go clockwise. And I'll say no is up and back. That's for me. You can make it anything. And it starts to go up and back, and then I'll say maybe is counterclockwise. And it's starting to go counterclockwise all on its own. No movement from me. And so now I'm ready to go. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to say, if you've done whatever you need to do with your pendulum and you've said the yes, you've said the no, you've said the maybe, you're going to ask, am I alone in my body? Okay. Now, before that, I usually say, am I in my body? Because you really don't want to do any work unless you're in your body, right? So am I in my body? Oh, that's a no. Okay. If it's a no, there's a couple different things you can do, but really quick, act like these are roots to a tree and stick your roots down into the ground and get yourself really grounded into Mother Earth with these roots. And it really puts you into this present moment. There's also something called a 12D shield that's really great for grounding you and connecting you to Source. Okay, so I'm going to ask again, am I in my body? And the answer is yes. Am I connected to the 100% light source? Okay, and if you're not, I just want you to imagine you're a beam of light. Oh, look, I got Linda Ray Shea. I want you to imagine you're a beam of light, and you're just going to, from this beam of light, go through our sun and imagine going all the way to the great central sun. And you'll say, well, I don't know where the great central sun is. Well, just imagine it at the center of the universe. Okay, and you're just going to say, I'm going to take my light through our sun to the great central sun. And now ask again, am I connected to the 100% light? Answer's yes. Okay, now this is really what we're getting at, is the question, am I alone in my body? So we just talked about dead people. All these dead people who are addicted, dead people who might have committed suicide, dead people who don't know they're dead, maybe dead people that are connected to us through family, right? So you want to say, am I alone in my field? Am I alone in my body? In my field or in my body? I have a no right now, right? It doesn't matter. I could have cleared it 20 minutes ago, and right now I got a no. So I'm not alone in my body. So this is where you're going to try to find out, how many things are lingering. Is it 2 entities, 3, 1? Is it 1 entity? All right. And then you're going to ask, is it a dead person that's in my field? Mine doesn't happen to be a dead person, but this is what you're going to ask. If there's no dead people in your field, great. Okay? Is it a galactic being? Yeah, I got a galactic being. All right. I get pestered by these galactics. Sometimes good, Arcturian galactics, and sometimes not good. All right. So if it's yes, there's a dead person. Does anybody have that you have a dead person in your field? What you're going to say is, you can't be here. This is my field. This is my sovereign space, right? And you need to move on to the light. I want you to follow these stairs and just create these stairs. Here's the key. Unlock the door and move to the light. And then it's just asked, did the dead person move on to the light? If they didn't, is there a reason why you're here? Like, do you have a contract? Are you trying to get information from me? So, and you want to ask, when you're asking questions, you want to ask yes, no. Don't ask 2 questions in one. Do I or other family members know you? It's like, well, that's 2 different things. You don't know me, other family members do. Right? So you want to really break it down. Very simple. Yes, no. You allow for a maybe because maybe says you have to get more specific or ask more questions. All right. And if they're having a hard time because of a contract, you're going to either release them from the contract, or you're going to say, who were you before? Who will you be next? You can move on to the light. Questions about that? So it could be someone you know, someone you're connected to. Most of the time when there are dead people in my body, I don't know them. Sometimes, like I said in the last masterclass, sometimes it's a hitchhiker. I got a hitchhiker, I said last time, because I was downloading, it was like a healing from the Arcturians, and there were 3 entities that said, we want that also. We want that healing also. And so they were like, we're going to latch on, and then we're going to get that healing too. And I'm like, you got to go. You cannot be here. Move along, please. All right. So that's a little bit about dead people. You can also say, if they were attached to you or in your field, you would say something like maybe, I dissipate and release all the magnetic imprinting. Because especially if they were addicted to drugs, they might have put a magnetic imprinting on you, and you start craving drugs or alcohol, right? So you want to dissipate and release any imprinting, any magnetic imprinting. You don't want that left in your field, right? And just let all of that go. So let's see. When I was talking about who were you before, who were you going to be next, one of the good ways of saying that is to say the word truth first. Truth. Who are you? I'm Mary Smith. When you say truth and then ask who are you, they have to tell you the truth. Truth. Who are you? Mary Smith. Truth. Who were you before that? John Brown. Truth. Who were you before that? Truth, who will you be in the future? Okay, so this is keeping them honest. Truth, what was your job? Truth, what was your job before that? Truth, what will your job be next? So that keeps them kind of honest. Let's see. Oh, also in the releasing, when I said you're going to release their magnetic imprinting, it's kind of helps you release their judgments. It helps you release their baggage. It helps you release their body aches. It helps you release their point of view. So this is an important thing about releasing any of that imprinting that may be going on. All right. Any questions before we move on to Galactics? No. So most people can't perceive Galactics because they're not as dense as we are. Some have bodies somewhere else, other dimensions, other planets. Some Galactics have bodies on our planet, so they're able to take on our physical form. There are positive Galactics. They're here to help us, guide us, promote our growth. There are groups of Galactics like the Galactic Federation. And the Galactic Federation is not filled with galactic beings that are all nice and friendly. So the Galactic Federation is supposed to be neutral, and it may have guidelines that they recommend for all of these races, the Greys, the Palladians, the Orions. They may have guidelines, but they don't reinforce those guidelines. So if they say, our guideline is that you not interfere with humans for your own personal purposes, the Greys are like, we're going to abduct them and, do experiments. The Galactic Federation doesn't say, well, we're going to slap your hand or put a fine on you, or they don't. They just give guidelines. So you have positives, you have negative Galactics, and, they're here for different reasons. A lot of these Galactics haven't started paying attention to us until the last few years because we're ascending. We are ascending from the third. We've gone through the fourth into the fifth, the new paradigm. And because we're ascending, they're very interested in what we're doing. I mean, it's taken us thousands upon thousands of years to get to this point. It doesn't happen very often, and so they're watching. What are we doing? How are we doing it? And they're also very interested in us because a lot of times the ascension into the fifth paradigm, they leave behind their physical bodies. And we're one of the few that's keeping our physical bodies and doing an ascension while still staying in a physical realm. So this is we have a very unique experiment going on in planet Earth with humans, and they're very, very interested in that. So there are a lot of visitors that are full of light, very conscious, very expansive, here to help, guide, if they're trying to help you, like say hi. It's rude not to say hi. But there are also other galactic beings that are here for negative reasons. The Anunnaki, those that are part of a Black Sun program, the Alpha Draconis Orion group, the Greys, the Zetas, Tot, like the big beaked Tot, was originally sent here to help us progress, and he decided I'd rather be like God. And so he's on the negative end of things, Draconians, Reptilians. So they're sneaky, they're intelligent. For thousands of years, they've been using technology, implants, sometimes physical implants in the body, but a lot of times they're etherically, you have to remove because they're putting programming in, implants, this artificial intelligence technology, and they are good at it. They've been doing this for so long. They are good at enslaving us. All right. So in what ways are they potentially enslaving us? Jeannie could say some, Linda could say some, getting us to believe that we're only this physical body, getting us to believe in a victimizer, I'm a victim, powerless kind of mentality, having us forget that we are God, that we are powerful. disconnecting us from our own light source. But they are also working with humans on this planet. They want our Earth. They want to rule this planet. They want our light. And they were here before we got here. So they were here from the beginning. When we tried to share our knowledge with them, we basically got their virus. We didn't realize they are not connected to the light. We are connected to the light. And so in sharing our knowledge with them, it's like, you want to call it original sin. It doesn't matter. It's like this virus of darkness. And so this is part of what we're fighting with this these galactic species, is remembering who we really are. So they're not connected to the light. They have corrupted us, and we are having to go back and try to remember. They love to control, particularly with fear. They love anger. They love hurt. They love manipulation. So everything around COVID is great for them. We're fighting each other. We're blaming each other. We're afraid. We separated from each other. Like, this to them is like the best, and so there will be a lot of mind control. Now, they're also working with humans. So a lot of humans in the media, a lot of humans in Hollywood. And so they have mouthpieces, and they can control a lot of what's going on in terms of news and media. So we're kind of getting hit from all sides. When we talk about the fall of Atlantis falling is directly connected with these groups of people. So it's hard to imagine. It can probably feel really way out there for people, that this is really existing and going on. But we've got wealthy families, corporations, government leaders that are part of the cabal, the Illuminati, shadow groups, dark lords, working toward this agenda. So, and their agenda is very specific. Take over the earth, use humans to do it, and keep us in a place of ignorance. So, they really love hijacking our thoughts. They love infiltrating our field. They're involved a lot in human trafficking, child pornography, blood sacrifice. They're involved with Luciferians. They're involved with Satanists. They're involved with so much of the movie industry. They're all over it. And this is something where you're not going to necessarily see it in mainstream media. You have to really start looking at other sources to see what's going on. And I could certainly send you to some of those, but it's a hard thing to look at. It's hard to look at because you can end up down like this dark road, and then that almost feeds them. If we end up in a place of fear, it feeds them. If we end up in a dark road, it feeds them. We still have to stay in this place of we are more powerful. We are filled with joy and love. We can change the world. And this is really the place that we need to come from. So, of course, what they have at their command is also a whole army of demons. So we are bombarded. We are bombarded. You've got these good angels and ascended masters of the light and good galactics, but we also have on this other end these group of galactics that are working against us, that were already here. You have, they have legions of demons that they can also use to help work with them. And so we're like, being pulled and torn and picked at. And so this is why it's so important to really know what's going on inside our field, to really have an awareness of what's happening, because this is how we stay in our power. Okay, so in terms of that, so let's begin to ask ourselves the same question. Take your pendulum. Oops. Take your pendulum. And if you said, am I alone in my body? And the answer was no, then you're going to ask, is there a galactic entity in my field or in my body? I personally have a yes at this time. Not surprising to me. I really would like it where I could never have them ever come back. I don't know the answer to that right now. I'm sure there will be at some point that possibility. Does anybody else have a yes that you have a galactic being? Now, I had Arcturians a couple days ago, and I love working with Arcturians. They're great because Arcturians are positive galactics you can work with. Now, that doesn't mean every Arcturian's good. If you work with the Arcturian commander, good. Most Palladians, the Celtic beings, the spiral beings that I'm talking about, positives, right? Those are good beings to work with that are helpful. Anybody else have a yes? Oops, wait. I have two things in the chat. Are you still to use the pendulum to ask who they are? Yes. So let's get to it and figure out who they are, even if it's not a galactic or a dead person. So start narrowing down. Who is it, right? So I'm just going to show you what I'm going to do with the galactic for me. You know, I've had it where I have an earth spirit that consistently wants to work with me. And I keep telling the earth spirit that they can't be in my field. So what I'll do is I'll say, okay, I'll meet you underneath Mount Shasta in the green room, and then we will work together in there, right? But the earth spirit will come and show up in my field. So a couple days ago, Arcturians were in my field, and they said, you've got in your master crystal something you need to give to Amy, and it's related to the Andara crystal that's in your vault. And there was something else. They said, there's also in my vault something that's related to time. And so I shared this with Amy, and she met with my higher wisdom. She was in a park that she likes to go to, and my higher wisdom gave her a key that had this Andara crystal in it. And she said that was a key that I needed to do blah, blah, blah work. Right? So the Arcturians were guiding me, like, let Amy know, guide her this way. You have something you're going to give to her. It's like, okay, good. But let's see, I want to show you right now like what I would do. Okay, so in terms of the galactic being, is it reptilian, draconian, gray? No. Is it Arcturian? Okay, the Arcturians are back. Okay. And now, like, how do you know what question to ask? I usually have a really strong claircognizance where like a picture will come into my mind and I'll know what the picture's about, and that usually will lead me down a path of what questions to ask. So, is this about the keys in my vault? Yes. Is this about giving the keys to others in terms of activating something within them? Yes. So I'll just fill you in. I participated on 222 in something called an activation healing circle, and I thought everybody was going to be delivering activations to people. And I've watched Amy do activations. I do a couple activations myself, but I got trained to do them, and they're very step-by-step and very specific. And I said, I don't know that I'm going to end up sharing activations with people. Like, I was just reflecting about this. And they said, no, you're going to be giving people keys. And I know at one of my lifetimes, I was a key holder in Egypt. And I thought, well, that makes sense. And when I was doing the Atlantean Crystalline Network, I was given a key, and I had to submit 6 keys. Like, everywhere in my life, there were these keys. And so I said, I wonder if part of what I'm going to be doing in this new paradigm is giving keys to people, and it was like all these lights were going off, boom, 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 boom. All right, so now the Arcturians are trying to talk to me about what I'm going to be doing with these keys, how I'm going to probably get them to people, what these keys mean. Like I already found out a friend of mine is going to be doing something in 2 months, and I'm going to be giving her a key that's going to help her unlock something. Another person I'm going to be giving to in 6 months, and it's not a key to do something. It's going to open up something in terms of her conscious awareness. So they're going to try to give me some information about these keys. That's for me. Okay? Anybody else have something coming up for them? I'm going to find out more about what that is later because that's pretty exciting. But all right. So in terms of these galactics, it's if there's a gray, a draconian, a reptilian, one of these, if it's in your field, it's either it's trying to implant some kind of thought. It's trying to suck your energy, trying to probably block you from being effective and helping people in the world. Like this is kind of their agenda. So one of the things that I do is from my sacred heart, that's right here between my throat and my actual heart chakra, I pull out a golden sphere. And I will determine like where are they in my body? Oftentimes they're like connected to my head. It's almost like a metal thing that they try to like attach. And I'm like, oh, okay, I got what you're doing. So I will remove the metal and I'll say, okay, any imprints, any implants, any explants, any residue, any miasma, any plasma, anything that they've got here that's still operating, any tendrils, any hooks, I remove them and I put them in this golden sphere. And then I basically bathe myself. And if there were like holes here, I fill them up with white light, platinum white light. And then I just fill my whole body up with platinum white light. So whatever I took out or removed, this plasma, miasma, explants, implants, alien technologies, programs, residues, I just remove it. And then there's this golden sphere that's got all this garbage in it. And you don't want that floating around in your house and bumping into it. So I just say I send it through the earth grids to the universe grids to be transformed or transmuted in any way true to the light. Well, the reptilians may not say, but dead people, if you say truth, are you... Who are you? Jeanette was asking about why do they have to be honest. So if you say truth, who are you? They will answer. Truth, who are you? But otherwise, I just say, if it's galactic, I'll say, is it reptilian? Is it draconian? Is it, the good galactic? Are they Arcturians? Arcturians like to work with me a lot. Palladian. There are others that are good. Yeah. Any questions? Because we got 1 minute. So I just take that, release it through the earth grids to the universe grids, transform and transmute it in any way true to the light. No, I know. Galactics are a bit hard for people, right? But they're there. So, and we don't want to act like they're not, because they're doing lots of work with people on the planet. We want that to all be cleared so we can be our highest vibrational self. Really be who we're meant to be in the world. Love and light, filled with joy. By the way, they hate joy. So fill yourself with lots of joy and gratitude. And they're like, I don't want to be around. Yeah. Good. I'm glad, Jeanette. All right. The question is going to be up for the homework today in 10 minutes. I already have it set up to be posted, and the video will probably be up within a half an hour. All right. Thank you, everybody. Love you. Thank you for participating and being here. Tomorrow is manifesting abundance. So I'll be incorporating some sacred geometry and some exercises, and and just manifesting abundance. Okay, and then Monday's Q&A. If you want more one-on-one time, or you feel like you can't ask questions because I'm spending too much time teaching, a lot of people got their questions answered then. Thank you. All right. Bye, everybody.